All right, welcome. Today we are going to be talking about chapter 1. Hopefully you were able to learn something about UCF history and what UCF is all about through that other module. Chapter 1 is the first of 11 chapters that you will be studying within this course. You're going to be studying all chapters except chapter 9. We're going to skip that one. And then chapter 4 is out of order. We do that for the second half of the class, so it's a little confusing, but if you just go through the modules, you'll be able to understand which chapter comes next. So for the midterm, you're going to be tested on chapters 1, 2, 3, 5, and I believe 6. And chapter 4 will be for the second half for the final exam. So you're going to do a midterm, which is going to work for the first half of the chapter, and the final is the second half. It is not a cumulative final. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and work through chapter 1 with you all. Okay, if you ever, do y'all see the big picture, or is it in presentation mode with notes and things like that? What do y'all see?
I see it's just a big screen.
Big screen, perfect. Okay. I always, sometimes it's like presentation mode you all see, and I want to make sure you don't. All right, so this is all about exploring college. So some key things that we're going to talk about is why you should go to college, what the first year of college will be like, expectations and the culture, and then how this book can help you throughout your first year. All right, so I want you to kind of think in your head where you fall in these 4 questions. If you're fully aware of the expectations of college and how to meet them, how do you feel on ranking about 1 through 4? You know why you're in college, have clear goals, what you want to achieve. You take responsibility for your learning and for challenging concepts, and you feel comfortable working with faculty, advisors, and classmates to accomplish your goals. So depending on how you feel, hopefully at the end of this class, you might be more comfortable with these 4 areas. Number 4 can be a little scary, I know. It could be a scary thing to walk into a faculty's office or an advisor. And I commend you for showing up today, because there's some students who might be, apprehensive about even going to a Zoom meeting with a faculty member. So it's good that you took the first step. Faculty aren't scary. They're people too. Just remember that. Okay, so in chapter 1, these are the things that you're going to learn. What the purpose and value of college is, what the experience of first year of college should be like, how to handle some expectations and the culture, because it's a different culture in college versus high school, and what are some resources in the textbook and also on campus. I'll give you some fun facts of different things you can use for resources on campus to make sure that you're successful. Actually, I had a student in my office earlier today who was trying to sign up for their lead class, and I was helping them do that, and then found out that they were food insecure and needed some assistance. I was able to get them set up under federal work study, which is a financial aid benefit, and showed them the pantry on campus, which offers free food for students and clothing. And he said he was just eating cereal all week because his refund hasn't come in. So I was able to really help him. But sometimes you just need to know the right people and the resources on campus in order to, help your life in a meaningful way. Okay, so you could see 2 different types of students who may be, in college. So like Reginald, came back to college. He's married, has a son, and he hasn't been in a classroom in 10 years. Madison, different type of student, graduated from high school in top 10%, did dual enrollment in AP, feels academically prepared. So they have some stuff in common, right? They're both college freshmen. They both want to get started and committed to their lives, but they are coming from different scenarios. And so as they move on, hopefully Reginald would be able to kind of catch up to Madison and her preparedness. Okay, so some things I want you all to think about is why you want to be in college. Like, what is the reason? There's an assignment called the 5 Whys that you'll do through the modules, and it kind of has you think and reflect why you're in college. A lot of students just say this was just the next step and don't really know why they are here. So I want you to sit back and think about that. And then also think about what are the transitions that you will have throughout your college experience and some strategies to overcome challenges. Okay, so these are the 3 things that we will talk about first. Why you're in college, the rewards of a college degree, and why this course can help you. All right, so decision making is an important skill to have. Okay, so trying to figure out why you're in college is going to be different for everybody. So these are some examples for the 5 whys, which is a assignment that you have of how to answer the first question, why are you in college? So if any of you want to share in the chat, you can do so, as we're talking today, while you're in college, we can help you with that, which is part of the assignment. And Julia Corey just joined. Julia is our graduate teaching assistant in the class, so you will see some assignments graded by Julia throughout the semester. So welcome. So some students are in college to learn more about themselves. Some are in college to get a job. Some are in to prepare for grad school. Some are thinking more about their future career and getting the skills in order to be successful in their future career. So everyone has a different reason. Okay, so this is part of that assignment that you will be turning in. And so we want to know why you want to be in college. Okay, so one reason to be in college is the higher your degree, the more in lifetime earnings you will receive. As you see with a bachelor's degree, you will hopefully make about $3.3 million in your lifetime. You can see the difference between being a high school graduate and a bachelor's degree. And then if you decide to go to graduate school, professional degrees like a law degree or a MD degree, a doctorate, whatever you decide to do after college, your potential for earning goes up more and more. So just a little fun fact of why it's important to go to college. Okay, some other reasons why it's important to go to college is that if you go to college, when you get a job afterwards, you're probably going to be more satisfied with your job because it's a professional career. You're going to have more stability because you're probably not an hourly worker. You're probably a salary employee. Improved health and wellness because you typically would have medical and dental benefits, paid time off, and be able to enjoy your life a little bit more in a healthy way. And better outcomes for your kids. You may not be thinking about your kids yet, but if you have a college degree, you have the influence, know-how, and information to help your children go on a path so that they can go to college as well. Okay, some other rewards and values of a college degree. Better critical and problem-solving thinking skills, better communication, know how to work in a team, how to, use computers more, and better leadership skills. Your work ethic increases, you know how to manage what your career will be like, and you're more knowledgeable about cross-cultural communication. Okay, so an introspective question, a reflection question would be, in what ways will earning a college degree be valuable to you now and in the future? Feel free to put in the chat if you have any answers to these prompts that are coming up on the screen. Okay, so another thing that this chapter talks about is why this course can help you as a result of taking it for your college success. So these are some self-reflection questions as well. Think about, what do you think college will expect of me? And how do I develop those, skills that they want me to have? Some students don't know what they don't know, right? And so it's important for you to know how to navigate the process of being successful. Like I was talking about with that student with the Nights Helping Nights food pantry. If you don't know what resources are out there, you're not going to be able to take advantage of them. So how do you navigate that process of being successful, which will lead to you completing a degree. And then how do you create long-term goals and the short-term goals, which will help you get there, right? And how do you know that the goals you're setting are good for you? We'll talk about goal setting in this class as well. Okay, so questions to also consider in your head. How are you going to adjust to college? There is a big adjustment between high school and college, and there's in the module, it talks about some of the differences, and there's a little quiz in there about the differences between high school and college. And what are the common college experiences that you will have with all of your peers in this class? If you had any key differences that you learned about high school and versus college, I'd love for you to put those in the chat. But these are some that the book talks about. There's an academic adjustment, right? Some students go through high school without concrete study skills and, do fine. But college is a different animal, right? They're going to have different expectations of you. I talked to a student who never read a textbook in high school. And they come to college and they're expected their first week of class to read 2-3 chapters. And they're like, I have never read a textbook before. I just kind of listened in class and did fine, right? In college, that, work ethic has to change, right? There's also a cultural adjustment. The syllabus, for example, my syllabus is like 12 pages long. In high school, your syllabus is probably a 1-page or 2-page document. And it's a comprehensive syllabus that talks about everything for the class. In high school, you kind of learn as you go. You don't really know what's coming up, what's being due. You know from the very beginning what's expected of you in college. There's also different officers, like the registrar, which helps you enroll in classes. There's, office hours, which in high school, you just stay after class and talk to a faculty member, not in not in college. Julia just said she wasn't personally the best in high school, but she looked at all the academic resources, peers, professors, and office hours stay on track, especially during your freshman year. We have a free resource called the Student Academic Resource Center, which offers free tutoring for select classes and also supplemental instruction. Supplemental instruction is when someone who's been through the course before, made a good grade, goes and shadows the class that you're in, and then reteaches it in a study session for you in layman's terms, right? So that's a way for you to, if you were walked out of a class and you're like, I have no idea what that professor was talking about, this student who is being paid to shadow the class and reteach it and be like, okay, this is what he meant. This is what you need to know from that chapter. There's also the University Writing Center, which can help you edit and create drafts of your paper. There's also the MAL, which is the math lab in the Mathematical Sciences building. All sorts of things for free to help you. Okay, I always recommend don't wait till the end of the semester to ask for help, because then it may be too late. I suggest getting help throughout the semester, and that also gets your name out with a faculty member. They know who you are. And this is what happens at the end of every semester. This happened for me with Summer A just actually on Tuesday when I submitted grades for Summer A. So a faculty member looked at a student on the bubble. For example, I had a student who had like a 89.1. And so the faculty member, when that happens, goes, okay, B plus, A minus, B plus, A minus. And so I looked at the student's history. Did they turn in all their assignments on time? Did they, try? Did they, what was their, situation? Were they a good student in participation throughout the whole semester? And he was, and I bumped him up to an A minus. Some of you may have gotten grades higher than you thought you were going to get when you looked at your final grade on Canvas or whatever you had in high school. Has that ever happened to anybody where they got a higher grade than they, really deserved? You could do like a thumbs up or something if that happened. That's what faculty do. Okay, both of you. That's what faculty do. They're like, how, by coming in today, I know your name, right? Um, and that's good to be on the radar of the faculty member. So when they're making that decision at the end of the semester, you're on okay, I'm going to bump them up because that student deserved and earned a B plus, but I popped them up to an A minus because of their work ethic. All right. Emotional adjustment. So some of you may be living away from home for the first time, right? Maybe having to do your own laundry, having to cook for yourself, clean for yourself. You may, feel homesick. If you're living at home, there's another emotional adjustment, right? Because you have friends who might have, the freedom to do whatever you want, and your parents may still have a curfew for you. So that's an emotional adjustment. Like, oh my gosh, what trying to navigate. Now I'm over 18, but I'm still living at home. How can I navigate this with my parents? That's emotional. Financial adjustment. Obviously, if you went to a public high school, it was free to go to high school, right? Now you have to deal with FAFSA and the financial aid system, which is can be kind of a nightmare, especially this year with the change in FAFSA. Ada and Nicole, if you have FAFSA, even trying to navigate, do they have my Florida prepaid? If you have Florida prepaid, do they have my Bright Futures? When is my scholarship going to show up? When is my refund going to come? That is a stressful time. Julie may have remembered this when she was in college too. You didn't have to worry about that in high school. You just kind of automatically went to school. They gave you a laptop for free to borrow. You had free books. It was a good situation. But it was a requirement for you to go to high school. Now it's a opportunity for you to go to college. It's not required in life. All right, intellectual adjustment. You're going to learn about new things. You're taking classes that you've never taken before, like humanities and philosophy, and things like that, which kind of will open your mind to new things. And socially, if you're living on campus, you're living with people who are different from your family. You're going to have to navigate that. If you join a fraternity or sorority, that's another social adjustment. If you join clubs, you're making new friends who might be from different countries and might be very different from, your friend circle in high school. And I personally think that in college, relationships get deep quicker because you're spending more time with your friends in a non-academic setting than you did in high school. Right? Okay, so these are the 6 areas that we talked about and how you could kind of navigate those adjustments. So for example, social, joining a club or organization, and managing conflict in relationships. I like to say you want to have conflict or controversy with civility with students or your peers, because things can get a little more heated in college than in high school because you're sharing a bedroom space with them or spending more time with them. All right, so you're also going to have the opportunity for these intellectual kind of like light bulb moments or aha moments. And that is great when you're learning new things that you've never been exposed to before. Okay, so college culture and expectations. There's a lot of different words and acronyms in college that you're going to have to learn. Like I said, SARC is the Student Academic Resource Center. As an example, or the RWC, the Recreation and Wellness Center. There are the FAFSA, like I just said before, it's the federal, application for financial student aid, something like that. So there's all these acronyms that you're going to have to learn. And it's your responsibility, because once you're 18, you are the one who has to make decisions in your college life. Your parents don't have access anymore. Your parents can't call up a professor and ask how you're doing in college. They don't have one-on-one meetings with your college professors. Now it's up to you to take control of your academic life and live it. But you need some resources in order to do that, like the Student Academic Resource Center, going to office hours, things like that. And there are going to be some common challenges that first year. So is a new cultural experience, that's a challenge, right? You have to learn a whole new language and customs and those acronyms, like I said. And some words you may have heard before, but they have a different meaning in a college setting. For example, the term retention in the kindergarten to 12th grade world is usually a bad thing. It means that someone was retained and had to do a grade over again, right? In college, retention is a good thing. It means that you stayed from your first to second year. So even that one term changes from a negative connotation to a positive one in college. Okay. I'd love for you to put in the chat, are there any new terms you've encountered even this first week that you had never heard of? And if you haven't, that's okay, but just utilize the chat for any new terms. And I'll keep on going while you may be thinking about that. Oh, disbursement. Disbursement's a great one. That means that you're getting money back from financial aid or scholarships, right? So if you have a grant or you have bright futures, you might get money back. And so unfortunately, disbursement takes a long time to get, but it is a great term. Okay. Okay, so another thing that's different is the relationships you might have with your college professors may be different. They may not be as accessible as in high school, because in high school, you're seeing a teacher every day, right? You know where their classroom is their office space. In college, some professors may not even have an office on campus, right? They may only do Zoom meetings for office hours or may only allow their graduate teaching assistant to do office hours on their behalf. So it may be harder to get to know professors, especially if you are taking an online class, right? We try to, not go that route with this class, right? So hopefully you can get to know me. But professors are important to get to know because they're the ones who can help you with information about internships. They can write letters of recommendation for you. I have two I need to do today for a student. They may nominate you for some awards, serve as a reference. But you can't just ask a professor for a letter recommendation if you've never talked to them before, right? Or they may say, no, I don't know you, right? So it's important to build that foundation of a relationship with a faculty member before you ask them for a favor or before you might be on the top of their mind for when something comes across their desk for an internship, right? So these are some ways that you can kind of put yourself in a good position to have those faculty resources available to you. Participating in class, going to office hours, doing things like this, right? Asking for assistance only if you need it. You don't want to ask for every assignment, especially if it's in the prompt, what you're asking. Talking to them maybe about them, right? Be like, so how did you become to be a professor? Professors love talking about themselves, right? So you just want to make sure that you are setting that foundation so that later on, once you need help, they're there to help you. Okay, so before college, you probably had authority figures, family, and friends as your relationships. Now you have a little bit more, right? You still have those three areas, but you might have a mentor. You might have, a boss, in college if you work on campus. You have different peer networks. You might be involved with three organizations. So that's three different groups of friends. Where in high school, they were all, usually, unless it just becomes more defined in college, right? So when I was in high school, I had my, basketball and volleyball team friends, right? And then I had, friends in classes, but they all were in my same grade, right? Now your peer networks might be people from different majors and different areas of the university. So it just expands. These are some great differences between college. I can tell you the biggest difference I felt from high school to college is there were no more bells, right? So you had like a warning bell, you had a bell that started first period, you had a bell that ended first period, and so on. there were no more bells in college. And that was for me the biggest difference. I don't know if y'all, well, y'all are online, so you're not really feeling that. But when you come on campus, that's something that I was like, oh, it doesn't tell me when to leave, right? And I actually made a fool out of myself when I went to college because I was like, when does the bell ring? Right. And my instructor was like, what are you talking about? And I felt a little dumb. Okay? Um, I also didn't realize my first class I ever went to, it was college algebra, I'll never forget. And, I wanted to show up early, so I made it to class. So I showed up like, 20, 30 minutes early into class, and the class already had all these students in it. And so I just kind of like came in, found an empty seat, and they were going over like quantum physics or something. And so I just kind of pretended I was supposed to be there. And then when everyone left, I left. I like went to the bathroom and like you know, just hid for a little bit until 5 minutes before class. And then I went in and I was in the right class. So I didn't realize that there could be classes that were different right before my class. So I learned a lot my freshman year. In high school, you usually have lots of tests and homework to bring up your grade, kind of like in this class, right? But most classes are not like SLS 1501. You might be in a class where you have a midterm and a final, and that's your entire grade. And so it's really important that you prepare for those two. And we're going to go over study skills and how to take tests later on in this class. Or you may be in a class that only has, a paper and a couple tests. So not a lot of little assignments to help your grade out, right? Um, you may not know what grade you have in college until the very end as well, especially if a professor doesn't grade very often, which is so frustrating. Where in high school, you kind of check your account throughout to know what your grade is. Um, and final exams in high school are more like AP exams, where it covers the entire year. So you need to make sure that you are studying all the material. This final exam in this class is just for the second half of the class. So you're welcome. Just kidding. Okay. Um, there are some unwritten rules in college as well. So an unwritten rule about what you should be doing before going to class is that you should be reading the chapter that the instructor is talking about before you go to class, right? And that is because if you have the material in your head before you go to class, you're going to be able to recognize things that the professor says. You're going to understand it better, and you're going to have an easier time taking notes and really putting what you read and what the professor said is going to make a lot more sense by the end of the class than if you go in there cold and have no idea what the chapter or the professor is talking about. During class, you should be taking notes. We're going to be going over in this class some note-taking techniques. For example, the Cornell method or the outline method, or, we're going to go over some different options. But you should be taking notes during class. The professor's not going to tell you you need to take notes during class, but it's an unwritten rule. You should be doing that. After class, you should be reviewing your notes, maybe creating flashcards or Quizlets based on your notes right after class, because that's when it's fresh in your head, right? You don't want to wait 3 weeks and be like, I have no idea what this means, what I wrote down here. If you do it right after class, it's going to be fresh in your memory. And then if you're not able to attend class in high school, if you miss a test, you got to make up. That does not happen in college, right? If you miss a test, you get a 0. Right? Unless you have documented proof and the faculty member is lenient enough for you to, retake it. But typically, if you sleep through a test, you get a 0. So if you're not able to attend that class, I would recommend having a friend in that class who you trust, who you can get the notes from, because you can't ask a professor to be like, I'm not going to be in class because I'm going home with my family. Is there anything important that I missed? Faculty do not like to be asked, is there anything important that I'm going to miss? right? Because everything they say is important, right? So they get offended when people ask for the notes from the faculty member. It's your responsibility to get it from a friend. Okay. So learning is your responsibility. That's kind of the key concept throughout all of this. Um, so if you kind of relied on your parents to do it in high school, which most high school students, have their parents helping them out, it might be a culture shock, when with this switch. But there are resources out there, and this class is a great resource for you to kind of learn how to do it. So kudos to you for taking this class. Okay, so first few weeks, especially in fall, are going to be pretty exhilarating. I have this concept that I think about called the W curve in college. So I'm going to draw a little thing here. Hopefully. Okay. So you start off. Oops. Did I do that? So in fall, in August, you start up here, right? First week of college is awesome. We call it syllabus week, right? Don't have a lot due, right? You are making friends. You're getting tons of free t-shirts, tons of free pizza. There's something called Pegasus Palooza the first week of school, which is kind of like every day there's, some sort of event going on. It's a lot of fun. You're getting to know friends. You're staying up late. It's awesome. Syllabus week is awesome in August. You're at the top. Then you kind of go through the semester, and then, you start having assignments due. You're like, oh, college is actually a lot of work, right? And then you get to final exam week, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, I have all these finals in 1 week. I need to study for the, stuff from the whole semester. And it's like, oh my gosh. Then you like go home and it's like, oh, it's winter break. This is awesome, right? And then, you come back and then it's like, oh my gosh, here's finals again, right? And then it's like, oh my gosh, it's summer, right? You're like, oh my gosh, in August you come in again. So this is like the end of July. You're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. It's syllabus week is next week, right? So that's what I call the W curve in college. So first 3 weeks are awesome, exciting and nervous. And then every week it gets a little more challenging. Does that feel real to anybody? I mean, you'll see in August all the free stuff you get that first week. Great. Okay. First time you get your first paper or test, maybe a little bit of shock there. There's no more weighted classes in college, right? No more honors AP, like giving you a higher GPA. So you might have had like a 5.2 in college GPA, come to college, and it's like, oh, everything's under a 4.0. Be a little bit of a sticker shock there. And they might have higher expectations for your work and your tests and papers. So you might get some lower grades than you've ever gotten before. And then you may have not been studying throughout the semester. So that's something that a lot of people learn quickly, that they have to study to make good grades. Okay, so kind of put on here some of the different resources. If you have academic needs, student academic resource center is where you go. Health needs, campus health center, right? You all pay a health services fee, which allows you to get checkups in the health center. If you have an earache, if you're sick, if you have a sore throat, anything like that, go to the health center. It's free, right? Counseling and psychological services is free. If you need, talk to a therapist. Social, we have like 700 clubs. You can find a group that matches whatever your interest is. If you go to Night Connect, the co-curricular activity worksheet kind of talks about this. Try to find out what clubs are out there that match your interests. Like there's a cereal eaters club, right? Maybe like cereal. Chocolate club. That's great. Financial, you need to go to the financial aid office if you have questions about your FAFSA, refunds, things like that. When your disbursement is going to come, you can also go to the student care services if you find yourself in hardship, and they'll help you out. Okay, some other challenges you might have during your first year. You might feel like an imposter. Like, am I really supposed to be here? Like, is this the right school for me? I don't know. This is so different. Trying to, manage everything yourself, especially the financial aid office. You might ignore what your physical needs or mental needs. Yeah, Julia said Night Connect is awesome to look for clubs and organizations. You put in a keyword and they'll find clubs that match your need or your major. So let's say you are a engineering major. If you type in engineering, it's going to spell out all the engineering clubs and then the contact information of the president, things like that. And I want to say you're enjoying college. I know this is a little scary. I talk about like all the challenges and differences between high school and college, but college is a lot of fun. You just need to balance the fun with the work. You've probably heard of work-life balance. That is so important to do in college, right? So I like to treat college like a full-time job. So if you study from 9 to 5 and have your classes and study from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, you have your evenings free and your weekends free. You can get all you need to do Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. So think of college like a full-time job. If you don't have class till 11, you study from 9 to 11, right? You do homework in between classes. Instead of just scrolling on Instagram and, going on Netflix, like on Netflix, if it says, are you still there? You've probably been watching Netflix too long, right? Because it's going to tell you, like, are you really there? Do you want to go to the next episode? That is a sign they've been watching Netflix too long. So think about how you can balance the fun you want with what you need to do to be successful in college. Because if you don't, then you may not make the grades to be back a second year. You need to keep a 2.0 UCF GPA every semester to stay in good standing. You're disqualified from the university if you have 2 subsequent semesters with under a 2.0 term GPA. I know this probably not affect you all, but just want to make sure you know that. But have fun, right? Go to the football games, do fun things, go to concerts. We have something called Universal Nights, which opens up Universal Studios to just UCF students one day in the spring. Do all that. Catch a duck and Spirit Splash. That's great. These are some resources that the textbook offers for help and how to get involved. So just some examples there of what you can do. All right. So how can this book help you? So hopefully you find out what you want to do when you graduate, have your purpose, you know how to be successful, and what resources you need to do that. So this is all about being resilient. And that is it. All right. I'm going to stop sharing the screen now. Any questions about chapter 1 or any assignments that are due this week? This week's a little bit weird because I had assignments due in my class like Friday and Sunday, just to be able to, get everything together because it's add drop week. I couldn't really have any assignments due in the middle of the week in case a student added at the last minute. They would have already been late on their assignment. So that's why the schedule is the way it is this week. Any questions? Or do you need me to show the Canvas page if you have any questions about specific assignments?
I have a question about the research paper,
Okay.
about the timeline of that being due.
Okay. So wait. Show my screen for that. All right, so the research paper is due later on the semester, but we give you kind of mini assignments throughout the semester to what we call scaffold and give you resources in order to work up to that research paper. All right, so for example, we have you do an assignment called to learn how to do a literature review, which is what the research paper is. The research paper is, you're going to find a student success topic that you want to research more about. So for example, it could be why being in Greek life helps with student success, or why alcohol deters from student success, or why having good nutrition helps a student become successful, right? You get to choose a topic that interests you about college as long as it relates to student success in some way. And I can help flesh out some ideas for a topic if you want to do that. You are then going to find 3 articles that relate to that topic, right? 2 have to be peer-reviewed journal articles. There is a module that teaches you how to find these articles throughout the UCF library database, right? The other one could be a YouTube video or whatever you want, okay? So we give you some assignments to help you prepare for that. So for example, this is a module called Introduction to Conducting Literature Review. We talk about how to find a journal article, talk about the different parts of the article, how to read it, how to pick a topic. This is where you're going to kind of figure out like what your topic is. How to look through the library databases, what Google Scholar is all about, all of that, right? So you're going to get tested on that. And then we talk to you about, okay, so now we want you to make sure that you are finding good sources. The crack test is a way for you to know and evaluate if a source is good for you. And then like we talk about, okay, so how to cite sources with APA style, because you're going to have to cite all those journal articles that you find. So we teach you how to do that. And then later on, you're going to be doing this thing called a research check, and that's on July 7th. And I'm just going to share this with you. My screen will look a little bit different from you. So this is, okay, you found your topic, right? So now I want to make sure you found 3 articles or 2 articles and 1 video that relates to that topic. In this research check, you're going to tell me what your topic is, right? These are some examples. Oh, it won't let me do it. So for example, if it was campus involvement, right? It could be health and wellness, whatever. There's a drop-down menu for you. And you're going to tell me what that journal is. You're going to basically, the title, I'm misspelling there. The title and the journal, right? And so I know, and I can say, okay, these are all good ones, right? But if you did it wrong, like for example, you said, you know, Orlando Sentinel articles for all of them. I'm gonna be like, no, you need 2 peer-reviewed journals. Okay, so that is due on July 7th. So we're kind of learning how to do a literature review, learning how to cite it, figuring out what your topic is. Now you find the 3 articles, and then you do something called a research summary worksheet. So the research summary worksheet, it's due later, and that's kind of like a big outline of your paper. You're going to tell me what was the methodology, what was the results of the article, things like that. You're going to do the full citation. You're going to learn about how not to plagiarize. And then, okay, so that's a research summary worksheet. That's on July 10th. So a few days after you find your articles, you're going to do that big outline on the research summary worksheet. You're going to download a Word doc, type in the answers to those things. Then the literature review paper is July 19th, right? I know this is a long answer to your question, but I just want to make sure you understood all the steps leading up to the literature review paper. So this is a 5-page paper, right? Basically, you're going to do a page of introduction, right? 1 page per article, and then 1 page for summary, right? You can download this template. It's a Word doc that already has, the margin set up, where you put your name and all that kind of stuff. So this is a great thing to download to actually start your paper. There's some videos on here, how to use APA, what the literature review paper is all about. And this is the rubric for how we will grade your literature review paper. Okay, did that answer your question? I know that was a really long answer. And it's worth 70 points. Okay, good. All right, so that's like a big process throughout the entire semester, but I want to make sure, I don't want to just say, oh, write a literature review paper. I want to make sure you have all the tools in order to do it right. Any other questions about any other assignments that are due? Let me go to my homepage. So start thinking about what you want your topic to be. Okay, question about the midterm. What 2 days we're going to be for the midterm? They are. So you get 2 full days, basically all day on July 12th and all day on July 13th. Because I open it up July 11th at 11:59 and due July 13th at 11:59. So you have 48 hours on the 12th and the 13th of July. It's also on the calendar. So if you click on the calendar, you'll be able to see all of it. It only is going to show you when the midterm is due, but the midterm and final, you both have 48 hours to do it. So it's the 48 hours preceding the due date for when it will be open. All right. Any other questions? These are great questions. All right, so on the calendar, just wait, you can like add and take off any classes you want. So if you only want to see SLS, just make sure that is on there. Any questions about yellow dig? You have this week and next week to make up the 1,000 points. So
I had a question.
yeah.
So when we go there, like let's say we meet our weekly goal, should we just wait to answer like the next topic the next week?
Yeah, so week 1 and 2, you have until July 5th to make 1,000 points, and then it's 1,000 points every single week after that. You can make up to 1,350 points, and that extra 350 will be extra credit, right?
Okay.
So I always recommend trying to get up to 1,350 every week because you get extra credit. You get points for posting individual posts, for responding to people's posts, for creating videos, for doing polls, for if someone gives you responds to your post or gives you like an emoji, you get points for that too. So there's a whole lot of ways for you to earn points. It just depends on what you like the most. So I would recommend every week, definitely getting to the 1,000. You have until Friday at 11:59 for that week. And then it resets every Saturday morning. So every Saturday morning, starting next week, will be the points for the following week. I didn't do 1,000 points this week just because of ad drop, right? Because if someone added today, I don't want them to have to make 1,000 points in less than a day.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So throughout the week, you'll see that, you have like a bunch due every day. I would not recommend doing all this in one sitting. I would just kind of go through every day, making sure you're, checking, especially yellow dig. You do not want to try to do 1,000 points in one day. It can be a lot. But it looks like a lot, but a lot of these are like 1-point things that don't take very much time, but help you learn the material. All right, any other questions? Great. I'll stop sharing. I look forward to seeing you on Yellow Dig. Y'all have done a great job so far. I know, Nicole, I gave you an accolade for being one of the first to make 1,350. There are 3 students who already hit the 1,350 mark. but that doesn't mean you have to stop participating. Well, I look forward to possibly seeing you next week for, I'm going to do chapter 2 and 3 together. And so those were all, optional for you to do. That is going to be on the 3rd at 3 o'clock. So on Wednesday, UCF is closed July 4th and 5th, both days. So there's nothing due except for your yellow dig, on those 2 days, because that's like an automatic every Friday. But if you have any questions, let me know, and I look forward to seeing you at a future chapter review. Have a great day.
Thank you, Dr. Maurer.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks.